In October 1957, a nuclear reactor burned in Windscale in the UK, and the resulting radioactive cloud drifted across the surrounding area and all the way to the European mainland. This event is one of the worst nuclear incidents in our history and serves as the basis for Rebellion's new game. The game takes place in an alternate timeline a few years after the accident in Windscale and shows what would have happened if the catastrophe had been even worse than it was. Your task in the game's quarantine zone is to search for answers as to what the hell really happened there. My colleague from GameStar recently had the opportunity to play Atomfall for almost 2 hours and get the feel for the game. What follows are his impressions that I adapted into English, so let's dive into Atomfall. This game is a survival action game in which you explore the quarantine zone from a first-person perspective as a protagonist with amnesia, while doing all kinds of main and side missions. Of course, comparisons to Stalker or Fallout series are thematically obvious. You have the nuclear incident in the background, it's a post-apocalyptic setting, and it is action-oriented. But my time with the game already made it clear that Atomfall also has its own footprint, and it doesn't necessarily want to only copy what already worked for the competition. That can be seen, for example, in the game world. Instead of a barren wasteland, Atomfall features cozy British landscapes garnished with typical details like the red telephone booths. You know, the things everyone used before cell phones and are now only tourist attractions. The game world is also not one huge area, but it's actually divided into several fairly big zones that are connected to each other. I mainly stayed in Casterfell Woods during the preview, but there is also the town of Wyndham with charming English back-to-back houses. It looked pretty nice actually. My main task was to find a woman named Mother Jago who not only knows quite a bit about herbs, but also might have some clues about the causes of the Windscale catastrophe, as herbalists usually do. After a short walk through the area and a few small skirmishes with the bandits, I found her, I questioned her, but she would only give me these clues if I got her a valuable book that a druid clan had stolen from her and taken to their fortress. Yes, druids. These druids are just one of several factions in the game. According to official information, there should also be renegade government organizations, which I have not yet encountered during my time with the game. How I got into this fortress of the clan in the southwest section of the map is totally up to me. There are several entrances and of course the possibilities to proceed either quietly or by making a lot of noise. If you choose the latter variant, there will of course be fighting, especially in close combat. In Casterfell Woods, I found quite a few wooden bats, clubs or sickles, some just lying around in the game world, others in the hands of my opponents, in which they didn't stay for long. My first impression was that this kind of close combat plays out quite well, but it was also a bit wooden, excuse my pun. All kinds of firearms can be used in the game. During the previous session, in my inventory I had a rusty revolver and a carbine, and when it comes to gunplay, you can definitely notice Rebellion's expertise from the Sniper Elite series. Ammunition is supposed to be relatively scarce in the game in order to give you this feeling of limited resources and being enclosed in the quarantine zone, and that was indeed true for ammo used by my firearms. However, as for the bow that I picked up and which was conveniently very quiet to use, I found more than enough arrows during the previous session, though it's not like you can stumble upon them absolutely everywhere. You still need to keep your eyes open for it. You can often find the term survival game when you look for information about Atomfall. However, for me it only feels partially true. Unsurprisingly, I have to make sure to survive here, but I only have to keep my eye on my character's health and pulse, or heart rate, however you want to refer to this. If the latter gets too high as a result of sprinting or combat, certain actions, such as aiming, become significantly less accurate. You don't have to eat, drink, or sleep regularly in Atomfall, which I actually found to be quite a good decision during my playthrough, because there's no distractions. I already mentioned keeping your eyes open, and this aspect struck me both positively and negatively. Positively, because you can find numerous materials everywhere in the game world from which you can then craft items such as bandages, for example, provided that you have previously found the corresponding blueprints. And at the same time, there is also the negative aspect to it. There were 2 instances during my previous session when I found myself needing to keep my eyes extremely open because the items I was supposed to find were very easy to overlook, and I actually stumbled upon them only after passing them by 3 or 4 times before. And the book that I had to find for the herbalist was among these things. Sure, it's possible that if you have limited time and you try to get as much as possible from the game in that preview hands-on, you may feel a bit pressured and then you omit something obvious, but I still found it a bit annoying. One thing that I never thought I would say in my life is that the metal detector is extremely practical in everyday life. This is something that the protagonist carries with him and that can be used to track down buried boxes. There's a small minigame that's connected with this, but it's pretty simple. You just take the metal detector out, look around, and once all the lights on the device light up red, you're in the right spot.
He's in my spot!
Yes, Sheldon, we know. As for what you get from it, the boxes usually grant you some crafting materials, but with a bit of luck you can find training stimulants that you also get for completed quests. These stimulants can be used to improve your character in one of the 4 talent trees, and as a result you can get better in fighting, defusing traps, or you'll be able to take more hits. All the usual improvements for a character. Things can't be that easy though, and some skills are locked at first, and in order to unlock them, you need to find hidden skill books. And obviously that's another incentive to search every area thoroughly. In general, this progression system does feel satisfying, at least in what I managed to play, but it still remains to be seen whether the skills that are there are not all unlocked too quickly. And that's a question that loomed in the back of my mind after playing the game. The trading system in Atomfall is pretty interesting. There is no currency with which you pay, but instead you actually trade stuff. So if you want to get something from a trader, then you need to give back things from your own inventory that are of equal value, and only then a trade can take place. If you played this War of Mine, you'll roughly know what I mean. Initially, the trade ratio is pretty bad, but this can be later improved with a proper skill. Since my time with Atomfall was pretty short, I can't really judge the story of the game yet. What I can say though is that the game gives you some pretty nice mysteries to solve, and I really felt like I wanted to get to the bottom of these. Like, imagine that you get strange calls at these red telephone boxes and the voice advises you to not trust anyone, or tells you about the danger in the woods, or that you should kill something or someone called Oberon. Also, towards the end of my session, I reached a huge complex called the Interchange that looked pretty promising in terms of further clues and answers to some of my questions, perhaps also to the one of what the hell is wrong with all the deadly mutants in the tunnels. In terms of technical aspects, the version I played already made a pretty good impression. The landscapes and generally the game environment were really nicely designed, though I have to say that some animations or faces of characters looked a bit stiff. I really tried not to use the word wooden again. Also, the enemy AI seemed moderately intelligent. Luckily, Atomfall has several difficulty levels and some useful features like an adjustable autosave frequency, so at the moment it feels like everyone can shape the game into their own challenge. For now, it's still a bit difficult to completely assess Atomfall. After all, I only played for about 2 hours, and that's definitely not enough to make any conclusive remarks. What I can say is that I liked the basic premise of the game that quickly draws you into its story with all its bizarre characters and secrets to uncover. The game mechanics, like combat, also seem pretty solid at this point, and there is a lot to discover in all the areas I could explore. It still remains to be seen whether this hunt for clues can be enough of a motivation to keep you invested during the whole game, and whether enough variety is offered in the gameplay to get you hooked for longer. For some, these questions are why they might want to take their time before jumping into the game, but for me it was enough to get me excited for Atomfall, especially that launch day is not that far away. Atomfall will be released on March 27th for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and of course PC. The game will also be available day one in Game Pass. To finish things off, I am curious about your take on Atomfall. Even though it wasn't super popular on the lists of the most interesting upcoming games of 2025, was it maybe somewhere on your radar? The comments section is waiting for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope the videos like these, adapted from the German GameStar channel, will make it possible to bring you more information from the gaming world when I can't cover something myself. I know Atomfall is a bit late to the party, but hey, we'll do better next time. Take care.